All right, thank you. So I think it's important again for me to clarify exactly what the voting on the petitions is, and I'll look to Catherine or the commissioner to make sure I'm saying it correctly. But again, these petitions, as we went through, by the color coding, you can see we've either used exactly what they've said, some of what they said, or not what they've said. So because these petitions, technically we need to deny or accept the petitions, which we have not done with any of these. We're going to go through one by one, and we'll either accept or deny the petition based on what they've asked as with the changes as the department has proposed.
Just a quick pause. We have dropped the meeting, so we are not recording right now. Let me just see if we can get back in. Or network quality.
Can I say that carefully?
All right.
I'm gonna have Catherine repeat it in legalese.
Yes. Thank you. Can you try and repeat what I said, Catherine?
Is the recording on?
Yeah, we are back.
Okay. So, what you could do is you can move to accept or deny each petition. If you accept the petition, you may want to accept it with the changes that are reflected in the final board vote on the amendments to the fur-bearing species rule. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to be walking through the rule and you may be making amendments, some of which relate to these petitions, and some of which, are responsive to the petition. Most of these petitions, you've got some requests that that are reflected in parts of the rules. The only one where I don't see any of the recommendations that are included in the department proposal is the Vermont Wildlife Coalition petition. So we could also do this after you vote on the rules, but I think you can accept a petition with the condition that, you're gonna incorporate some of it into the rulemaking, and some of it is not going to be incorporated into the rulemaking.
So with petitions, the department can offer their suggestion as to what the board should and shouldn't do with the petition. Okay. So from what I'm understanding, the suggestion by the department is if the petition, and everything's in green, the petition has said everything and the department has used everything the petitioner has said in the proposal, that we should likely accept the petition. If a petition has some usage, if the department has used some of the wording in a petition, but not all, that we should still accept the petition as changed by the department. As reflected in the changes by the department.
I think that's too fine a point. I don't think you have to do that. Because as I understand the Administrative Procedures Act, you can accept a petition and then write back, sorry, we decided not to do anything. Or you can write back, you had 10 points, we're going to do 1. Or you can write back, you had 10 points, we're going to do 14. And
there's really not much guidance in the
right,
in
no,
the,
I understand
in the statute about it, but yeah.
It allows the authority who actually has to promulgate the rule to move forward, to accept the petition and do what they want to do with it.
So can I, Dave, I want to just clarify
So
what you're saying.
What I'm suggesting is just a blanket motion, accept the petitions.
And then when we
And then
adopt the
department
rules, we can respond to how
Respond
we,
point by point, just the way this is.
accept
done.
doesn't mean adopt,
No.
Correct.
is what you're saying. I just want to make sure it's
Putting
clear.
it in play.
I like that way a lot better, David.
That shaved about an hour off the
Yeah.
meeting.
it did. Thank you.
And that came from a former legislator.
Yeah.
So-
Would expect. Go. To jump up and down, if in fact the APA were any tighter than that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it is. I get involved with petitions to the various secretaries or commissioners or whatever all the time. They take them in and you wouldn't believe what comes back out, including outright rejection. We're not going to do anything, but I
So,
don't think we're at that
I
point.
think that's a method that would work and meets the legal requirements. And just a reminder that every petition we get, once you've acted, we respond in writing, addressing their petition and why, what was or was not adopted.
I think it's a good idea to accept it rather than approve it or deny it, because this is still a work in progress.
Correct.
And wait. In a sense, it's kicking the can down the road a little further, but at least it's given us a chance to come up with the rules and adopt the rules and still have those petitions
Correct.
as guidelines and try to.
All right, so I am good. So to save time, thank you again, David. What we're looking for is a motion to accept or deny all the petitions as a whole.
I would be able to clear all the petitions listed here.
For the record,
Okay.
can we just?
This is Jay. I'll make that motion.
All right, so just to clarify, Jay, you didn't say whether to, can you restate your motion?
I make the motion that we accept these petitions as presented with the understanding that there may be changes made before we're final.
And I should
Makes sense.
clarify which list. And those, Jay, those petitions are open petitions. Vermont Coyote Coexistence Coalition from March of 2022. Vermont Traditions Coalition from May of 2022. Northwest Wolf Recovery Alliance from December 2022. Vermont Trappers Association from April-ish 2022. Vermont Wildlife Coalition from May of 2022.
Correct.
Second.
That you? Sorry. She's trying to get in, but you
Yeah,
know,
no.
you're just
So we had
mean.
Jay. David second.
I'm already ready. You go.
All right, so we'll go through. Marty Van Buren. Yeses to accept the motion.
Yes.
Jay Sweeney,
Yes.
Robert Patterson,
Yes.
Paul Noel,
Yes.
Brian McCarthy,
Yes.
Michael Colson,
Yes.
Neil Hogan,
Yes.
Allison Frazier, Brad Furlan. I know he's there.
You know, I don't see Brad Ferland.
I don't either.
He may have dropped as
Okay.
well.
Amy Dragon,
Yes.
David Dean,
Yes.
Nick Burnham.
Yeah.
Brian Bailey,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So 12 yeses. All right. Thank you for that, Catherine. Where are we now?
So now I would say
So,
you're on to the rules.
so I will turn this over to the commissioner
Well,
to go over the board votes on the petitions relating, oh, excuse me, no, I'm past one. Tentative first vote on the amendments to the fur-bearing species rule.
so it's still yours, but you've heard our recommendations. That's what this is, based on the effort of the working group. And so there's a couple of ways you can go about it. You can either have a motion to accept it and then have amendments, or just do a series of amendments. That's really up to you. But I just want to remind everybody where we are in this process. This is actually the beginning. When you vote eventually on accepting these rules, that starts the actual rulemaking process, which Josh is so on the ball, has put up. And so that's a rough timeline based on tonight's meeting. It goes to ICAR, Secretary of State. And so there's a public comment period based on whatever is adopted or voted on tonight, where we will get many comments from all quarters with interest in these topics. And you can see that there's a period, but there's also going to be 2 in person and a virtual public hearing. And then the public comment period, if this all timing works out, would be roughly June 30th. You would have a second vote. It goes back to LCAR. And then after that, it comes back to the board. And that's a rough time frame. But the point of this is the working group did a tremendous amount of work just to get this to you as a recommendation from the department through me to you. And so first, I'd like to thank everybody who participated in the working group, which is a broad representation, 2 different working groups, and the staff, many of whom are sitting over there. I don't know off the top of my head how many hours were spent on this. Chris Saunders, do you have an estimate?
Not complete yet. Let me pull it up.
As he's working on it, the time's going up. It's a moving target.
Like the debt clock.
That's right. But it approaches, yeah, but it's tremendous amount of effort. And so, and you can see as we go through this, it's complicated. And it took a fair amount of time for good reason. And so I think it's important that the board understands the amount of time and effort and hard work that went into it by the smart people that work at the department. So with that, Catherine went through this. Catherine did a lot of the writing on this, by the way, which is, I'm glad I'm not a lawyer. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount of work. And so she should be acknowledged. She would. She's hiding over.
It's a teamwork.
Yeah, she hates this, by the way, but it's okay. She needs to hear it. It is a team effort. And so as a department, we bring this to you. We believe it does in fact meet the requirements set out by the statute, which we worked very diligently with mostly Senate Natural Resources, but the House as well, to come up with something that addresses the best interests. So it's in your hands now.
Dave?
I would like to suggest, and this is, that in fact, there not be a motion at this meeting. The reason is, if there's a motion to approve these as they stand right now, I will have to vote against them. Now, is it possible that I would be able to vote for this? Yes. But I would like an opportunity for us to continue the discussion. And and how do I say it? If we actually go through with that and I vote no, and I'm the only one that does, or maybe one or two others join me, are we going to be isolated out from the rest of the process? Because, well, the hell, we voted no, listen in.
No, first of all, I don't know who would isolate you. You're all equal members. Secondly, you can make amendments right now.
Well, but see, I'm not prepared to make amendments right now. This was, I wanted to get information. I would love to have a chance to spend an hour on the phone and, you know, get some language that was appropriate. And I'm not, you know, I agree with you, but, you know, there's no way that I can write this language. Always rely on legislative counsel.
So what we vote on today is obviously not final. But according to that schedule, if you can pull it up again, Josh, there should be at least 2 more opportunities to amend. In addition to taking what we feel should be changed, taking in consideration what the public has offered. So I think it's important to take this vote. And even if it's not 100% exactly what you like, you can still make amendments tonight, but there's still plenty opportunity for the coming months.
So we could re-vote on amendments later, at a later date, correct? Like,
We can, yeah, make amendments.
After we make an amendment, doesn't the whole process start over again? Doesn't it have to go back to?
That's a question for Catherine, but I believe if it's Garrett, right?
The department was hoping to have our amended version tonight, voted on tonight, so it could be submitted.
So,
Catherine, did you want to address that?
Well, the process is designed for public input. And so, you know, there are, the board has a chance to amend the rule at second vote. So after the public comment period, we have occasionally had situations where the rules have changed so dramatically that we want to go out to the public again and give them an opportunity to weigh in. But that's pretty rare. So one of the things about the legislative mandate is that they did want us to try to put these rules into place in January 1st, 2024. And I do think that there's, you know, this process is going to take a little while because of all the steps. So
I think it's fair to say this is an ambitious time frame. And if we delay it, it could push us back even further.
but there's still, would a, say, July 19th meeting, we have the guidance from AFWA for dispatch, proper dispatch for trapped animals. Would that start the whole process over if we plug in their recommendations or some type of dispatch recommendation? Or could we still stick to this timeline if we make that change?
I think, and Catherine, correct me, it would depend on if you amended it now. And so that whatever you included as a method of dispatch, if the output was not that significantly different, the recommendation, then it's not a significant difference. But if it was something in wide variance from whatever you might adopt, then I would defer to Catherine.
And I think if you amended the rule to include a dispatch method, and then we subsequently got, public comments as well as the actual recommendations, you could vote on July 19th to adopt this. If you thought that those were reasonable, made sense, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but as far as the only thing that sent it back to the start is a significant change that was not addressed in the original publication. So that if the public hasn't had a chance to comment on it, because you've made a major change, then it goes back to the start. If we were to include provision for requirement for dispatch and change that requirement based on National Association, public input, you don't have to go back to the beginning. In other words, you can modify, you can't bring in a new element. Right. Because that's arbitrary and capricious and Elkhart beat you all over the head.
I would say,
Anything? Yeah.
well, I just want to say that ICAR is all about process. They don't look at the detail in the document. They look at, if you got your T's crossed and your I's dotted, that's what they're all about. They want to make sure that you've notified all the constituents that have anything to do with whatever the rule is. And so you have between there and that second board meeting to make adjustments. And as long as the adjustments are technical and you're not going way outside the box, I would see no issue.
So I would look to have a motion to accept this, the board's proposal for what it consists of, not what it's missing, I think is the proper way to handle it.
Yes, because I took notes from beginning to end. For some issues that we said we were going to come back to, but I do not want to hang this up. If in fact this can be addressed, or should they be addressed now before we have a motion?
So
I,
technically, you can have a motion now, and then, as you're discussing it, have a motion to amend it. And you vote on that amendment, and maybe there's 4 amendments, and just, once you get through all those votes, now you have an amended document, you vote on that. That's one way to do it.
yes.
Do we have to vote on every little amendment or every change? As the board has to vote on it.
If the amendment is seconded, yes. Do any other board members need any more info to make a decision?
Proposal on dispatch, or do you have one?
Gunshot to the head. Following AFLA research protocol in terms of where to place the shot.
My comment as a trapper, I use a 22 caliber rifle or pistol to dispatch any live animal that I've ever trapped. So
We're looking for a motion. Would you like to make that a motion?
There's not a main motion on the floor, so I'm answering a question saying, if there were a motion on the floor to approve this, I would immediately offer this as an amendment for lack of any other. And I think I could be more responsive to the commissioner's concerns with a little time to craft something. But I've got to do it, you know, just. So
Do we have a motion to accept this rule and start the process?
Make the motion to accept the rules.
I make a motion to accept the Fur Bureau Rules Amendment as presented by the board.
Give Jay the second.
Jay, you'll second it. And just to clarify, it's accepting the rule as presented by the department.
That was Brian, not Jay.
Sorry, Brian.
It's the mustaches.
Yeah.
It's the voice.
This, discussion.
So I will offer my amendment that a section be added that deals with methods of killing trapped animals. And that point A or one or however one would be gunshot to the head should be the only allowable method for killing animals in lethal and cage traps set on land. Best method for shooting the animal in the head is a 22 caliber firearm. Pistol, rifle, this one. And that recommendation comes from AFWA, which is the Federation. It's work them into this language. It's AFWA's research protocol, and I have an address that I can send to Catherine.
I have a question.
Just a second, sorry. Was that your motion, David?
Yes.
Did you get all that? Or I'm just taking minutes? Okay.
Yes.
Are there jurisdictions in Vermont where trapping occurs but firearms are prohibited?
It has to be seconded
Seconded.
before you can
Second.
discuss it.
All right. Neil seconded. And what was your question again?
Are there jurisdictions in Vermont where trapping occurs but using firearms is prohibited? Like Burlington, Shelburne, South Burlington, right? Wouldn't that present, how will we handle that?
Now, sportsmen discharge a firearm, you know?
Yeah, that's under control of the state. Towns don't have that power.
Not yet.
Well, I think they do.
Oh, I beg to differ with that. I know South Burlington had an ordinance that you cannot use any device that launches a projectile. Therefore, limiting the use of bows and arrows, BB guns, dart guns, blow guns, shotguns, rifles, arrows, you name it.
There is a section that allows towns to, they cannot regulate hunting, fishing, and trapping, but they are allowed to regulate the discharge of firearms
Right.
within their municipal board. So there are some municipalities who have done that. I will say that some of this arises when there are people who are trapping in defense of property, and some of these rules are not applicable to those people by statute. So they're only those who are taking compensation.
Mike?
And safety is a concern that there may be times where if you mandate that the dispatch of an animal can only be done with a 22, it could be really go from a hip witter to a chest witter situation that has someone who is not legally capable of owning a firearm or using a firearm, but illegally trapped and wants to make amends for their life and suit the outdoors. Will gave his proposal of saying only, mean this person is taken out of the picture. They're pursuing a healthy alternative in their life. But something they did in their past has not allowed them to have a firearm anymore. It's really gonna put these people at risk, and I happen to know 2 or 3.
You could use a muzzle loader possibly, but
They could use a muzzle loader, but
that's not.
it's not practical, it's not practical. I think the trapper situation, even with Catherine just said about the total legality of it, it may make an on-call situation unsafe by discharging that firearm.
Or
Do we,
illegal.
or illegal?
Berry City, you can't, discharge a rifle in Berry City, have a shotgun. I
Just
think
want to
that's
make,
how it reads.
just want to make sure, and I think it's time because this has not been talked about. And trappers take great care about being reverent and respectful of this animal that they are pursuing. I think we didn't talk about at all in that work. Record that are not heathens. They represent a culture that has a long history and frankly, we're sitting around the table with the brains that we have in our heads did not eat meat. And that choice is an important choice that a person makes. They conduct their lives around that 365 days a year. This isn't just October to December. This is taking care with permission, ethics, family, care of the product, respect for that animal. And we haven't talked about that. I want to put that would be understood that this is not a foolish pursuit. This is something that's very important to the people that do it. So that being said, I'd like to work from the assumption that the bad press that it gets is bad press. I don't necessarily see some of the stuff that I see portrayed as all trappers doing it that way. Consider people that necessarily put a bad video out there and trappers or hunters and all. So the wording of this particular piece, David, and I understand where you're coming. It may not work in all cases, and it may cause somebody to get on the phone when they hear a gunshot, and all of a sudden now you're going from skinning out a couple of rats to getting in front of the judge. Go there. Is it necessary that we go there? Thank you.
In terms of, I was not characterizing trappers. There's a difference between putting a fish in your creel live and dealing with it with a priest before putting it into your creel. There is a respectful way of dealing with taking an animal. And I just, in terms of how you do that, there are choices, and I'm offering a choice. In terms of the discussion about legality and overlapping jurisdictions and can you shoot a gun and whatever, that's exactly what I was asking for time to consider before having to put this motion forward. But because this is just a raw piece of verbiage that has had 15 minutes worth of thought, because we are rushing forward adopting this rule. So
I'd like to just say that,
what else?
well, I don't think we're rushing. We were here a month ago for 5 hours.
A month ago, I was in my house.
I know you were.
2 hours without power, sir,
I know, but
without.
there's 5 hours of tape. There was all sorts of discussion. And this is not,
Taking,
this is not, well, but this is not a new topic.
no, I understand that.
And so I think this has been on the agenda for some time. And the purpose of the meeting is to have this discussion.
Ken, unless I have
I'd like
this
to
wrong,
point out that my motion was to accept the recommendation, not to adopt it.
I don't know what he said.
I think he was clarifying that he made the motion, the initial motion to accept the entire rule.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Brian, I understand that.
I did not make a motion to adopt the entire rule. I made a motion to we can proceed with the process.
Oh, accept. Okay. So you're clarifying the word accept versus approve or adopt? Sorry.
That's correct. I made a motion to accept the recommendations.
Okay. Now, if I have this correct, you can amend your own motion, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Would-
and if, we're gonna do this for the purposes of the first step, I can, with the agreement of my seconder, withdraw the amendment, the motion to amend. And I believe that's what I will do at this time. That unfortunately puts me into a position where I'm not. Anyhow, I withdraw my amendment.
Could,
I don't think Brian heard that.
Brian, so David has retracted his motion. Can you hear us?
My motion stands to accept.
Okay. So we're in discussion now of his initial motion. Would putting in a suggestion of proper means of taking when able by firearm be a step in the right direction?
I'm not going to adopt mine.
That's a study committee.
All the legalities of it, but I think we'd be better off not to even address that issue at this time. For the sake of moving this, trying to meet a timeline here.
I do like, yeah, it's a murky area. I mean, I offered up what I do. I wasn't necessarily saying that's the only humane way to dispatch. I think a lot of weight does come from waiting till we get AFWA's recommendation. They've been studying this a lot longer than we have. So inclination is to also put this on side for now. The dispatch, I'm talking about the dispatch regulation.
Gotcha.
Proposal.
Mike, did you have something?
Well, there just were a couple other things that we had talked about, that we want to put in. So does it make sense that we give approval for a good piece of work? The understanding that that we can modify as we go along?
Yes. After we vote, we can still amend.
Well, I would recommend if there are proposed amendments, you do it before you accept it,
Okay.
to be honest. I mean, otherwise you've accepted it as is.
Which is why I go back to saying we should probably wait until the 15th to have these votes. And those of us that have amendments get busy and not be offering 15-minute amendments. But do some homework and come with a full-blown proposal. And do it on the 15th. Only thing on the agenda on the 15th, so it's not gonna be a midnight, all-nighter. And just be prepared up or down on the 15th, and then you still adopted the thing on the 15th. And that doesn't throw your timeline off at all. The other thing is, what can throw your timeline off, ICAR's schedule might be too busy. They don't meet endlessly.
That's exactly right. And that's the risk.
Well, but I'm just saying, even if we do it tonight, finish up on the 15th, and the next step's ICAR, they might not get to it for a week or 10 days.
Meet twice a month.
It's the
Okay,
next
that's-
board meeting we have here.
Okay, it does, so. Except summertime, they don't need as much.
Is,
Hang on, I think Jamie has a question.
Does the verbiage have to be perfect right now?
no,
No, you can tweak, like, it's, what is a technical correction is, if as long as it's not changing the intent.
Right, so why don't we just put the intent in there for now and then we can modify it later? So that way there, the overall proposal is there. And then we're not making any large changes in the future.
are there any other suggestions from the department? You guys wanna,
Well, I think you got a motion on the floor to accept the rule as Catherine presented it in second. My recommendation is to see if there's any other major changes. And just like David Dean brought up one that was relevant, you had a good discussion, so you decide not to go there. If there are others. I think all we've noticed a few, there's a little bit of minor language tweaking. that does
Which
not
we'll do.
change
That's
the
right.
concept. So that'd be my recommendation. Again, that's what you're asking.
I will also say that, a lot of our rules have legal dispatch. And they include guns, crossbows. I think it makes sense to at least put a placeholder in for dispatch. Maybe I'm. my
Well, the truth of the matter, Catherine, is Fairbury is the only one that does it.
Right.
An easier way to say that.
Right, but there are other ways to dispatch. guns.
does anyone have a suggested motion for a placeholder to handle the topic of dispatch? Just that. Good idea. Other than amending verbiage, commas, and/or, does anyone have any major amendments they'd like to make?
There was one place under 4.5 A, B, C, D. It's not discussed on page 3. And there was no talk about the use of drags. Last meeting, and we didn't talk about it in. But what worries me is you don't put the wording in. Open for not being able to use drags. That be addressed. Everybody know what drags are. Traffic. Nope. Talk about staking a trap to the ground. A drag is a chain. It has a double hook.
Grapple?
Grapple.
Good.
Grapple. The animal runs off from where you make the set. It's up in a hiding position. It gets hung up on brush. I did notice that it wasn't in there. It wasn't. Whether we missed it, but it is a tool that is used. My fear is that don't address it with words as simple as drags will be allowed to be used. And we may get called on the carpet for not having it in there, and now it's forbidden.
Would,
Simple as that.
Would the drag be affected by the maximum of 18-inch chain length?
Yeah, normally a drag would have at least an 8-foot cable or chain. Times 10 foot, you need that length. Increases the chance of that animal being caught up in brush. Yeah, short, if it's too short, the grapple won't work correctly and won't grab into brush or a sapling or a tree or. But yeah, that would eliminate the use of the drag, that chain limit. The length limit.
This is
Mike?
something that is allowed today.
Yeah.
in Traffic practices.
Yes.
By approving this, we would be doing away with that.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yes.
Is that correct? By approving these.
Yeah, as it's worded now, yeah.
It's not included, that's correct.
Okay, but it's not included, maybe it would still be allowed.
Depends how it's worded. As it's worded now,
These are amendments to the current traffic regulation, but it doesn't say in there that you can't use them. No, the traffic rules as written today are still gonna apply unless these trump it.
question, right?
Drags are allowed today for
Yeah.
traffic. It doesn't say anything in this proposed rule changes.
The B&P process, the applicant did not address drags.
But the way this is written, is this,
They would not be legal the way this is written.
Because it says all political. Then it goes to that.
Mike, would,
it's not a cracker, I guess I'd like to hear from, Joe, what's your thoughts on that? You don't wanna be put on the spot.
I would ask the question of why did applicant not address it? I can't answer that question, but that would be the question I would ask.
Mike, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we, insert and include the use of drags. Using a good old trap on land.
Did everyone hear that in online? Brian and Jay?
I didn't really hear it. No, I can't determine who's speaking from what's on the screen. And I can't hear it very well. But with 5 minutes left in the meeting, it's not going to make a lot of difference. I'm going to time out in 3 minutes now.
Just corrected the meeting duration. Don't worry, folks. The Zoom meeting will continue until midnight if needed.
Oh, no. No, we'll shut it off. So, Mike, can you more loudly state your motion?
Sure. Under section 4.5. That you need to include drags in addition to anchored traps be allowed as a method of take. Simple as that. As long as we can get it on paper, we can tweak the words. If everybody agrees to.
You're looking for a motion to allow drags be a legal way of fixing a trap. Fastening a trap's a better word. Jamie, did you second?
Second.
Discussion?
Major change to the proposed rule. And it's probably gonna take a lot of legal descriptions and all. Definitely gonna slow down the whole process. Take that.
Not if you give it to the.
No, it would take,
Okay.
it would take just a couple of different words to allow drags.
It'll take a sentence.
Yeah.
Just a couple, modify a couple of words here, but. Oh. Okay, we. That's.
We're still discussing. Yeah. Did you have something, Catherine?
I wondered if there were flags that you wanted to include.
Right, right.
Yeah. Like how long should the chain be? Are there pictures that make it more?
There are, as Mike described, one type of drag is just a prong that's angled. A newer type of drag or grapple has a prong, but it has swivels that move, make it more likely that they get the more, maybe more effective, you know, details.
I think it's gonna come down to technically numbers of swivels main length. For the purposes of what we're trying to do here with the whole program. So. And if it's just on the table and there, I don't think it's insurmountable for us to take the words. Right. Take the time to see.
If we just include in the proposed rules that will include the drag as an acceptable form of anchoring your trap with the details to follow.
I think that works.
I'm asking them,
That works for me.
just make it legal. And
Any other discussion?
Off the top of my head, I would think a minimum of 8 foot on a long chain or cable attached to a drag. I don't think specifying what type of drag would be necessary, but definitely you gotta have, you know, yeah, you don't want to have 18-inch chain there. A lot of times, some people use 10-foot chains.
But this is something that the department can research and come up with a recommendation to add to it down the road, and it would not slow the process down. Right. As long as we have that included in the.
Yep. Everybody have all the info they need to put it to a vote? All right, we'll do, for these amendments, should we do roll call, Catherine? One by one?
I would.
Okay,
There's only one amendment on the table.
right. The first amendment, we are only voting on the amendment. We're only voting on the amendment of the use, allowing the use of drags as a means of fastening a foothold trap on land. Marty Van Buren. Jay Sweeney,
Yes.
Bob Patterson,
Yes.
Paul Noel,
Yes.
Brian McCarthy. Oh, he did time out. Okay.
Let's just check participants. He might be good. Yep, looks like he did not refresh. All right.
Michael Colson,
Yes.
Neil Hogan,
Yes.
Allison Frazier.
Still hasn't rejoined. She has another commitment.
Oh, that's right. Brad Ferlin, is he on there?
Hasn't been here for some time.
Jamie Dragon,
Yes.
David Dean,
Yes.
Nick Burnham,
Yes.
Brian Bailey.
Yes.
I'm a yes. 11. Okay, it passed. Any other amendments?
Yes. I asked that a section be added with the following language. Dispatch of a live trapped animal must be quick, final, and as respectful as possible to the animal. This provision will be reviewed when recommendations are issued by AFCO.
Can you say that again, please?
Did you write it down?
Dispatch of a live trapped animal must be quick, final, and as respectful as possible to the animal. This provision will be reviewed when recommendations are issued by AFCO.
Oh, no one's on line anyways anymore, so they don't need to rehear it.
That was a motion.
Yes, and it was seconded by Mike Colson.
It was.
Yes. Discussion?
How do you enforce that?
Looks like the
Same
colonel.
way we enforce a lot of things in our laws. All right, how do you enforce speed limits? How do you enforce?
Radar gun.
Opportunity presents itself and enforcement occurs.
Two. So it sounds like the wardens were out of the room.
Yeah, so hang on.
It's unenforceable.
Right. Right. If it's a,
Oh, you have it in there.
But the way it's, isn't it, if I understand it, the way it's presented is we're waiting for, it's a
Right.
stopgap, better language.
If nothing else, it doesn't slow down a process and it puts a means of dispatch in there so that we can.
And it's-
something at a later date.
And it's better than a suggestion.
On notice.
Wasn't intended to be enforced. It's a statement of respect. All right, and then we'll review this, which is what the commissioner asked for, when the association issues their recommendation. Unless, of course, some of us can't wait 2 years down the road, we're coming to the end of our term or something like that, and we gotta.
Gotta get it.
Why'd you look at me when you said
No.
that?
This is it for my lifetime, right?
Yeah,
That's
but
not
you
true
got
for
4
you.
more years, 4 and a
Yeah,
half.
well, that's not true for you.
Yeah,
Come
well,
back.
Any other
I
comments, discussions?
like the intent. The
And I
enforceability is
allow
suspect.
Catherine and enforcement to sit and talk about having a statement of philosophy in this draft. It isn't gonna be a rule or in place until January 2024, right? I mean, that's what that schedule said. So can we leave it in so that it can in fact be reviewed?
So when I testify in the State House and they ask me about the vagueness of this, I can
You
refer,
blame me.
I will.
Yeah,
That's part of the motion.
yeah, yeah.
I understand the intent. And so I would leave it up to the board with, as long as you have the understanding that the wardens are not going to be out there. There's no way, this is vague. And so if you hear of a report, it doesn't mean that the warden's going to cite somebody. Unless it's, egregious.
Understood. It would have to be seen by the enforcement person. I mean,
It is unenforceable. What's respectful to some
Right.
may not be respectful to others.
not good.
But I think it accomplished what we were.
For us to be
That's
able to
right.
Change it down the road.
Catherine looks like she has.
Can I just suggest something,
yes, ma'am.
like somebody else? If I can get this. On discovery, trappers shall immediately dispatch a live trapped animal with a gun, muzzle loader, bow and arrow, or crossbow. Period. And then this provision will be reviewed when recommendations are issued for dispatch. I'm just looking at.
The only thing that does not capture the municipalities that have prohibited
Right.
the discharge of a projectile, because you still can't use a bow and arrow in some municipalities, like Burlington. I don't know about South Burlington, somebody mentioned South.
All right, and you don't want to outlaw the use of, say, carbon dioxide chambers or just, so this would probably apply to people doing, nuisance control. Unless we add,
You don't have that.
right, right, that's all I'm saying, we don't add it to like.
Urban animals are the only thing that we do not have a prescribed method of dispatch for. Everything else that we on in the state of Vermont has added to it, which is what Catherine just did. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
So we have a motion and a second of more vague wording.
Yeah, I want to understand because I would be willing to endorse what Catherine is suggesting. Again, not to enforcement and to questions of municipalities and whatever. We're gonna have another shot at this before
Right.
it goes final.
Change the motion again.
He can amend, he's gonna retract and and submit a new one, as long as Michael Colson is okay with that.
Fine with it.
Are you okay with his new motion?
Haven't heard it yet.
You did?
So
I heard what Catherine.
Yeah, so I'm saying Catherine's language with this provision will be reviewed.
Mr. Dean, can I add something that I just whispered to Catherine? And I was really there. That is going to do it for the videos of people hanging out, taunting, poking critters.
So immediately. Yeah, I believe Catherine said.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's what I heard.
I missed that. No,
So David, have you've retracted your motion?
The original vague language, and I will put forward dispatch as with other
That's Catherine.
Catherine's language.
Immediately.
Immediately, with the provision that this will be reviewed.
The motion is immediately dispatch with gun, muzzleloader, bow or crossbow,
Yes.
and to be reviewed after AFWA's suggestion, recommendation. Okay, Mike?
Second.
Can a longtime trapper make a comment?
No, not this time. This is still just a working board meeting, but feel free to give a call to your board member for the county or send the department an email with your comments.
I will do that. Thank you.
Any discussion? All right. Put it to a vote. Yes is to approve David's amendment. Marty Van Buren. Jay Sweeney,
Yes.
Bob Patterson,
Yes.
Paul Noel. Yes. Brian McCarthy, Mike Colson,
Yes.
Neil Hogan, Allison Fraser, Brad Ferlin, Jamie Dragon, David Dean,
Yes.
Nick Burnham,
Yes.
Brian Bailey, and I'm a yes. 11 yeses. Yeses have it. Okay. Any other amendments? Significant amendments?
Want to revisit what I mentioned earlier. It's in that same section, 4.5. The criteria of added or offset or laminated. These are words that I prefer, or laminated, or a minimum job thickness of 5/16 of an inch.
So I think these are things that will be taken care of and doesn't require a motion. The wording will be corrected.
We will look at whatever the AFL recommendation was.
Right.
It's called a Scribner's error. Okay, let me just run this by you, then in addition to that criteria, those four, I'd like to add propose one more. Called a double jaw trap. Of that, is that appropriate to do now?
Were double jaw traps included in the MP study?
BMP criteria. I got it.
Oh, it is that, okay.
It's listed in the same page as all those other padded, offset, laminated. I can pass this around. The picture is worth 1,000 words, but it's a type of lamination. It expands the square, or the amount of surface area that contacts the paw of the trapped animal. It better secures and protects that paw. It prevents twisting and turning. And it also
Open the discussion.
decreases the chance of pull out of that animal. So it's a double positive. I will just pass this around. You look at figure 11 of this page. See
Just to get the intent of what he wants.
Paul, would you like to make a motion?
Yes. Right now.
Yeah.
I propose a motion to include double jaw traps as an option of the criteria needed for laying footholds.
Second it.
Mike, you seconded?
Sure.
Folks online, Jay, did you hear that motion?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
All right. So why wasn't this included in the recommendation?
Where did we read 4.5?
You include it in the laminated.
Yeah. We looking at that, it's already.
Gotcha.
Maybe
If somebody responded to your question, I can't hear them.
of the traps, the mechanisms, rather than the actual names of the type of traps.
So Jay, the department's response is, double jaw traps are included as acceptable traps in these new rules.
Got it. Thank you.
So with the motion on the table.
Still have the the motion to amend.
Yes, sorry. With the amended motion on the table. We look to,
If it's included, I could retract it.
Yeah, that's,
If that's included, then that's great. I retract it.
Yeah, and there's a record of that statement by the department.
that's right.
yep. Are you okay with that? Okay. I've never done so many motions and retractions.
Oh, you don't spend enough time in the State House.
Any other significant amendments tonight? All right, does everyone have enough information to put the Brian McCarthy plus the 2 amendments of drags and method of dispatch. We have all the info we need to put it to a vote. Okay. Marty Van Buren. Jay Sweeney,
Yes.
Robert Patterson,
Yeah.
Paul Noel. Brian McCarthy, Michael Colson,
Yes.
Neil Hogan, Allison Frazier, Brad Ferlin, Jamie Dragon, David Dean,
Yes.
Nick Burnham,
Yes.
Brian Bailey. I'm a yes. 11 yeses, passes. All right. Thank you everyone for getting to this starting line. Now we move on to the commissioner's update.
I just, thank you, and thank you all for your attention to this. This has been 2 long meetings in a row. And it requires your attention, but I think you see the level of detail and hard work. I know I've already said this, but I'm gonna say it again. By the department when it comes to this serious undertaking. I also would like to remind you that the staff made all these recommendations based on the best available science. We do not manage wildlife like a popularity contest. We review the best science, and it's evident in all the things that the department does, whether it's habitat restoration, whether it's restoration of the turkey population, the moose management, the deer herd, the success of the bald eagle, the lake trout in Lake Champlain. There's one common line that runs through all of that, and it is hard work and dedicated decision-making based on the best available science. Anyone who says differently is misinformed or something else. But if we did manage by popularity, I would like to remind you that the DUTA survey that was done with respect to fur bearing made it very clear that roughly 80% of the state's population believes in exactly how the Fish and Wildlife Department manages wildlife. And while there are portions of trapping that are distasteful to some who were surveyed, despite that fact, 60% supported regulated trapping. Ladies and gentlemen, this is regulated trapping. That's what you're talking about. That is what we worked in good faith with the legislature last session to do. And so the department's proud of this work. You should be proud of this work and understand that while there are some vocal folks out there, the majority of Vermonters support the work that the department's doing and the hard work that you do. I'd also make a point that there tends to be some language that treats all board members as monolithic. And I think one thing that's been pointed out to me just by this meeting is that's simply not true. I look around this group and I see individuals who bring a different viewpoints. We have people who don't hunt and trap. And bring a different perspective. And I would say it made this discussion a rich discussion. I think where we ended up is better because of it. So I resent when they represent you as something that you're not. Lastly, I'd like to end on a positive note. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this from the colonel and the major, but something happened today that is unusual and extraordinary that you all should be aware of. One of our wardens was driving and noticed a car pulled over on the side of the road, something that we probably all see occasionally. But his intuition told him something's not right. And so rather than just continuing on his way, because he's busy, they're all busy, he turned around, went back to the car and found the driver slumped over, opened the car door. The car had a fair number of hypodermic needles. Because all of our wardens carry Narcan, he grabbed his Narcan, utilized it, called 911, and because of his actions, that individual is alive today. That is outstanding. Those are the kind of people that work at the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And they don't get their accolades as often as I would love them to. But everyone that works there, everyone in this room is dedicated to the betterment of our mission. And this one warden represents all the wardens. They do good work. And so I applaud him, and I also applaud the leadership of the colonel and the major, because it's their inspiration that saved that man's life today too. So with that, I end my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now, before we adjourn and move to the informal part of the meeting, can we respond to some of the stuff you said?
Yes.
In your, okay. And I hate to ask a question after you end with that. So anyways, you mentioned regulated trapping. Is there a difference between regulated and recreational trapping?
Recreational trapping is a misnomer. There aren't trapping leagues out there like bowling leagues. I'm not a trapper, but I know trappers, and they're not two-headed monsters. They're not cruel people. And they actually do have a respect for the wildlife and the habitat. Some people don't like what they do and have somehow created this myth that these are bad people. There's also commentary out there that people don't eat the meat. I've eaten the meat. I eat beaver. And so I think it's a term that's getting utilized for a particular purpose. Trapping is work. Anyone who's ever run a trap line knows. And they're out there on a regular basis. So they're also, as Kim Royer calls them, they're citizen scientists. We've got people with weather stations all around the state in their houses that report information to the National Weather Service. We have folks out there in the environment. We heard Jamie talk about what she sees with moose because she's in the woods on a regular basis. And so that's my response to that.
Thank you. Do we have anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? All right, all's in favor, say aye. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. So recording will stop momentarily. And we'll have a chance for our roundtable.